Welcome to our Living Well with Living Foods class. Carl and Debbie Allen here to present to you a little bit about what we're finding out that's good news in many different areas. The first thing I want to talk about is, let's see, we need to do a prayer first. We're going to do a disclaimer. We're going to also discuss a little bit about some health issues. And then Debbie's going to do a yogurt. So we're just going to have the coconut yogurt that'll be made. So that's probably a good thing. If you'd like to join us in prayer, please do. Abba, Father, we bless you, Father, for this day. We bless you for this warm weather in southeast Florida. We bless you for the rain that you've brought in. And we bless you, Father, for all that you are doing in our lives to mold us and shape us and conform us in your image, to cleanse your temple, to make us ready for the up-and-coming events that are soon to stir this earth, as we've seen the beginnings of so far, the birthing pains. And Father, we know that we need to be prepared, and we need to ready our temples to receive you and to hear your voice, that still small voice that's within us now. We thank you for being with us. We ask you to fill this room with your Ruach HaKodesh, Holy Spirit, that we may hear you, that we may feel your presence, that we may talk, think, and walk as we are supposed to in Yeshua HaMashiach's beautiful name. Disclaimer. If anybody is very ill with a discomforts, seek a physician's help. We have to tell you that up front because they'd lock me up otherwise. But in any way, they have a purpose. They definitely, if I was in trauma need, I would definitely rely on a physician to help me out in a lot of respects if I didn't have a naturopathic next to me.
Which we happen to have today.
Or chiropractor. Interestingly, was a chiropractor. I was reading a lot about chiropractic lately, and their training, actually, they do surgical performance in the chiropractic as their training, but they're not allowed to do it outside of training. They're strictly working on the physical, skeletal parts of the body to get alignment back, and they do a wonderful job with it. They're one of the areas of naturopathic medicine that is starting to take a big foothold in this country. Chiropractic was to be shut down at one point and completely abolished, and had been tried. And I had the blessing to talk with a Dr. Wilk about it, who actually took a case about that all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. So you can thank him for having the chiropractic physicians viable in this country right now. Without him, it may be very, very suppressed at this point, but he's allowed it to be opened up to everybody to be able to have it, and also to have health insurance that covers for that, for chiropractic care. But yeah, when we talk about physicians and what their needs are, definitely seek a physician, get his opinion, and once you know what you have an area now that you can address as to what can I do? Now we can seek out the remedy. The physical, spiritual, and the mental parts that we need to take care of. Because it's three things that happen that are causing that to be a discomfort to our body. Some of it's environmental, some of it's our spiritual, and literally all of it together is lumped into what causes us to have disease. And I'm here as a living witness to tell you that it can change. We can change just about anything that goes wrong with us. There's a statement from a Dr. Schultz. There's no incurable disease. None. And I feel the truth in that. Because it can all be healed. It can all be healed. What can't be healed in the physical, the spiritual can be healed. That can be taken care of. Our Heavenly Father has definitely given us that wherewithal to seek Him first in all things. He will then direct us as to who, what, where, and when to seek and seek. So thank you. I wanted to bring up a quick analogy here. I would like everybody to take a sample of this. No?
I'll take a sample. I'm not going to take it internally, but I could give a sample. I use it right now.
I'm serious. You wouldn't take a sample of this, would you? You don't want to taste it?
No, I wouldn't take
Why
it
not?
internally.
Why not?
Poisonous.
I'm sure there's
It's
something-
poison, right?
Exactly.
What will happen if you take this? You can be very sick, maybe die.
Yeah.
Maybe. Good possibility there.
Okay? I want everybody to take a sample of this. Would you take a sample of this?
No.
Anybody? Do you use any of this at home?
My husband does.
Okay. Has anybody ever read the statement on here? If ingested, call CDC, Center for Disease Control.
Wow.
Same thing with that bottle. If you ingest it, you must seek a physician or call CDC as to what to do. This is poison. And when they transport this in trucks, the trucks must be labeled as a hazardous waste on board. This is dangerous stuff. But a lot of people take this every day, 3 times a day. That's what they recommend, 3 times a day. There's so many things that we take for granted that we put in our body that can cause us harm. Oh, it's only a little bit. It's not going to hurt you. Sorry, it will and can and has in my case and in many others. It doesn't take much. It's an accumulative poison. So
And
it
if
can
you take a little bit of all the stuff they say that it's only got a little bit in it, you're going to have a lot of bit of that poison. So to speak. You have a big bit of that poison in your body. And not only are you going to have a big amount of it, you're going to have it constantly. And the body was meant to get rid of poisons. When you just, take a poison and you didn't know about it, it'll get rid of it right away. But if you keep taking that poison, it builds up in your body and it can't get rid of it like it used to. So that's what you're getting when you get a little bit of potassium, whatever, in all the preservatives that are in all of your
manufactured foods.
manufactured foods, yeah.
Or
That's what you get.
manufactured
Little bits
things
of poison
that,
here, there, and
it
everywhere.
can be our mouthwash, it can be our toothpaste, things that we take for granted. Then we go on to the foods that are manufactured. We've made such a hard life that we have to buy food that's already processed for us so that we don't have to cook it. We can just heat it in the microwave and eat it. We've become a rat race of people that does not want to take time anymore to prepare some food and eat a wholesome diet. But we're okay, the first 50 years of our life spending lots and lots of time accumulating our wealth, and the second 50 years we spend all of our wealth to keep our health. So it doesn't make sense. And we should be healthy to 120, 150 years old and stay healthy if we don't put poisons in our body. If we stay in an area of raw diets and getting the right food the way we're supposed to. So we encourage you to watch what we do, watch what we're bringing across to you. As you can see, Debbie and I, if you've known us for a long time, even a short period of time, 3-4 years, you can see changes in our bodies and what we've got complexion-wise and things that are changing as a result of just changing the diet to a good raw food eating and as much raw food as you can. We're not 100%. Otherwise, we would be, I think, on the other way, we could get sick if we have 100% raw sometimes. We have to have some cooked food occasionally, but we also have to have some meat products occasionally. But it's not something like I used to be, which was all the time.
3 times a day.
3 times a day. And what else we need? That's about it, I think, on the brief as far as poisons go. So be careful with what you're putting in. Read the labels. The simpler, the better. Our children are down from Colorado and they wanted some chips. Okay, no problem. They went and bought chips and they grabbed the first thing off the shelf that they liked. And I just said, look at the label. I said, right there you've got canola oil. I said, that's used for bearings, to lubricate bearings. But it's not good for the body because it just doesn't digest. Another study was if you have fast food, have some French fries. The oils in those French fries take 105 days to go through the body. 105 days to get out of the body. Because it gets right into the bloodstream, starts to cause problems. Now that's if your body is in fairly good working condition. But most of us don't have a fairly good working condition body. It's been worn out because we put so much junk in and we are really impacted. We have to go through cleanses. We have to go through a whole barrage of treatment to get the body back in order so that it can be a viable body again and expel that poison Debbie talked about for, hey, take an initial poison, the body wants to get rid of it quickly. If it can't, that's where we have trouble, we suffer. Thank you. And I'm going to have Debbie come up and do the yogurt to keep my poison. Not literally.
Take it away. Well, one of the reasons that we have the problems we have too is because we have not listened to the Creator's manual or read the Creator's manual and obeyed the Creator's manual. Because in the beginning, in Genesis 1:29, it says that we are to eat the plants with the seed-bearing fruit and the trees that have the seed-bearing fruit on them also. And he said when he made this that it was good. That was the good that he gave us for us to eat. Anything after that he gave us, he never said that it was good. He just said, okay, this is clean, this is unclean, you know. But that was the good. And so we want to make that most of what we eat, the raw. And I always want to stress this every time because we have to go back to the manual. That's where our information's at. And so today we're going to make a raw coconut yogurt. And I'm going to show you how to do it. My husband just found a whole bunch of yogurt, or not yogurt, but coconuts on the trees right in our park. We were so excited. And because sometimes it's hard, especially after this freeze we had, a lot of the coconuts just were not, they were all falling off and bad, so we didn't have any for a while. So this is what the coconut looks like. It looks kind of yucky, but it's not. It's just that this is the color that it is when you scrape it off from the inside of a verde coconut, which is the green coconuts. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to put all of this in here. It's probably about 3 cups. And I'm going to blend it up and get it all mushy so that it looks and feels like the texture of yogurt. Okay, see? It looks about like yogurt, doesn't it? So, then from that point on, I made some kefir. Now, we've talked about kefir before, and it's very much like the culture that's in yogurt, but a little bit different. The difference is the yogurt that you get in the store has certain bacteria in it that are good for you, that are there just for a short period of time, though. They will do their job in your system, but then they'll be flushed out. So they don't stay for a long period of time. Kefir, on the other hand, is one of those that stays a little bit longer. And kimchi, if you know what we've said about kimchi, stays even longer. So what you want to do is you want to get that bacteria in your body that stays for a little bit longer so that it gets all the way through into your intestines, okay? To get rid of any bacteria, the bad bacteria at least, that's down through all those areas. So the kefir I made about 2 days ago, and let's see, a tablespoon. And all I did was I put fresh coconut water in here. You can see the kefir granules that are on the bottom right there. We're going to mix that up.
How much kefir?
1 package of kefir, which I think we have some kefir over there, to about this much coconut water. If you put more than that in, it'll blow your lid off.
It's like
Because it ferments and it pushes the lid off. I've had one blow off before.
2 cups.
About a little more than 3 cups of coconut water is what I put in.
24 ounces,
About
3 cups.
Yeah, exactly 24 ounces of water. And then 1 package of kefir. And then after you get this going, when you drink it down to here or use it down to right about there, then you can add more coconut water and it'll keep doing it. But you've got to do it within 2 weeks or it'll die. It's got to have something to eat on. And so within 2 weeks, just keep filling it up with coconut water. Or you can use pineapple juice too. Pineapple juice is really good with kefir. And just keep doing that, and you'll always have your kefir.
Preferably fresh, by the way, fresh made juices rather than, again, processed. It's going to be pasteurized. So we want to stay away from pasteurized because it takes away from the live food of it.
And it likes stuff with sugar in it.
Yes.
Let's see what kefir looks like.
We don't have it in a granular form.
Yes,
do
we do.
I mean, we have it in a package, but it's just little granules.
Little white granules.
Yeah.
Since all I have a teaspoon here, it takes about 2 to 3 tablespoons. 2 to 4 tablespoons. And I'm just going to slightly,
Just made already?
yes, you can start, yeah. I'm just going to slightly turn that on so that it'll just mix it up. And so now it's ready to go. All I'll do now is I will put it into a jar just like I have here. This I made on Monday. I let it sit out for, I think it was 2 days, maybe 2.5 days. And after 2 days, it's separated, which yogurt very often separates and you get the whey in there. And so I poured it off and got the whey off of it. And then put it back in here. And I left some of it in there so it would be more yogurt-like. If you wanted to have like a cream cheese type of product, you could actually let it sit longer and let the whey come completely off. And then you would have like a cream cheese. And I've had this yogurt or this coconut cream cheese here at Mishkan before, and I mixed in different herbs and seasonings into it, and everybody loved it that tried it. So it tastes just like cream cheese. It really does. Yes.
Do you have to keep it in the refrigerator?
You do have to keep it in the fridge, yes. After it ferments, you do have to keep it in the fridge. Otherwise, it'll get too sour. And so the more sour you want, you can keep it out longer if you want. But I don't like it too sour. So I only kept this out 2 days in fermenting it rather than the 3 that it technically calls for.
How long could you keep it in the refrigerator?
I wouldn't keep it in more than maybe 2 weeks. You probably could keep it longer because yogurt does last a long time with the bacteria.
What is kefir made from?
What is what?
What is it made of?
The kefir?
Yeah.
It's made actually just out of the bacterias. That's all that's on there when it talks about what's in it is just the bacterias that
It's a
are
good
in it.
bacteria.
The good healthy bacterias, yeah. So it's not a dairy product at all. It was not done in dairy. So Carla's gonna dish this up for y'all so you can taste it.
So you don't put that like in a yogurt maker, you just let it sit out?
Yeah, you don't need to.
Normal yogurt, you put in the yogurt.
Right. You have to have it at a certain temperature. But this one you don't because of the kefir, the way it works, you don't have to do
Is
that.
that the same bacteria that should be used for kimchi, or is it different?
It's different. This actually, kefir bacteria has more good bacteria in it than an actual yogurt bacteria.
Oh, okay.
So it has like at least 10 or more in it than that the kefir will last longer in your intestines than the yogurt because it only has a few and they only last a short period of time and then they're flushed out.
I have different coconut trees. I have
Gold and
Jamaican gold, yeah.
those are the best when it comes to sweet. You get plain raw agave, and you can get vanilla beans. And I put about almost a half a vanilla bean in here, into my blender first, and I blended it all up, and so it gets into really, really fine vanilla, and so that's what makes the vanilla agave.
But it's good for you to eat.
Now, obviously, you can add berries to this. You can add other fruits to it, blend it in, or just put it in. You can add nuts. You can add seasonings. You can add cinnamon. You can make it taste really, really good. Remember, you're the experimenter. You get to experiment with all these things and try it. Does it taste better? Yeah. It's just pure coconut inside meat. And this is not the hard coconut meat that you find in the stores, okay? This has got to be the green coconuts. It has to be the green. You can do it with the hard coconut, but it's going to be very fibrous.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not as good.
Where do you find the green?
On the trees.
What'd you say?
She asked where we find our green coconuts. I said, on the trees. But seriously, they do, at some of the produce markets, they do sell the green know when you can
Is
get
that
it.
the same as the other coconuts? It's just not,
They're green.
but it's the same coconut.
Yeah, it's the same coconut, they're just not as ripe. It's not as hard, not as fibrous.
The flesh.
The flesh,
We
yeah.
call it jelly.
Jelly,
It's
there
like
you
a
go.
jelly.
It's like a
That's what
jelly.
we call it,
That's a
coconut
good,
jelly.
yeah. That's better than what I was saying. Okay.
Is that it?
Anybody have any questions about the coconut yogurt? Do you like it?
The vanilla was very good.
That all worked out good?
It tastes a lot better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I don't like plain yogurt anyways, unless you're making something that needs it. A little packet will last you probably 6 months to a year if you use it every 2 weeks. So,
Great.
any other questions?
Well, thank you, Debbie.
You're welcome.
I'd like to introduce you to Michael Rood, who's going to give us a little testimony of what happened to him through his life and what got him well. And please say hello, Michael Rood.
Well, thank you very much. Only request I'd have is more. That was delicious. Well, it's good to be here with all of you. I think we met some of you, some of us we've met before. Sometimes it's the first time I get to see you, other than looking out of your television into your living rooms and watching you sleep on it, trying to teach you something about the Bible. Yes. And so this is really it's a privilege to be here with you today, and the reason that I'm here is I came down in November on crutches after spending about 2 years in and out of a wheelchair. And I would go from a wheelchair to crutches to a cane and then to walking normally for a few days, and then just the heavy exercise of walking in and buying a bag of groceries and carrying it out in my hand would end me up in a wheelchair in a couple of days. And this had been going on for a couple of years, did not understand what was going on. And as you can see, I'm not in a wheelchair. As a matter of fact, when I came down here in November for the first time, I came down by using crutches. Well, I actually drove down from Michigan. I didn't use my crutches all the way to get here. But I had just gotten back from Israel. I live in the Galilee. Where we live is overlooking the Sea of Galilee. In fact, I have one of the most beautiful sights in the whole world. The entire living room, the end of the living room is just is a big glass door that's 15 feet wide, and we're looking over the Sea of Galilee, the Golan Heights, Mount Hermon up to the left, and Jordan down to the right, and nobody lives in front of me. It's right straight down. I live on the same height as the Golan Heights. I'm just on the other side. And 50 miles from my front window is Damascus. And this is exciting because Isaiah made several prophecies for the last days, and one of them is that Damascus would become a ruinous, uninhabitable heap. And that hasn't happened yet. That means it's going to happen. And so, to you here in America, Bible prophecy may be an interesting study, but Bible prophecy is going to determine whether my grapevines are going to grow next year or not. Because when Damascus gets nuked, thankfully, it's directly on the opposite side of Mount Hermon from my house. And so I think it's going to melt the snow on Mount Hermon, which gets about 30 feet deep in the wintertime. And it'll probably melt rather rapidly when that takes place, but we're watching for this to take place. We also see that Zechariah, the prophet Zechariah, is shown something by an angel in which the angel and Zechariah are going back and forth describing what he's seeing. Because Zechariah really doesn't know what he is seeing, but he knows how to describe it. And he describes a flying container. A flying container. Now remember, he's looking up in the sky and seeing a flying container 2,500 years before Wilbur and Orville Wright are going to, launch a plane at Kitty Hawk. But he's saying a flying container that's a cylinder. And the cylinder is about 6 feet in diameter. It's about 18.5 feet long. And the angel asked him what he is seeing, and he says, well, I see a flying container. He says what it is in cubits. Then this flying container has an evil fire offering inside, an evil fire inside encased in lead. Now, in the modern English versions, they translated the word fire, which is Asha, into Isha. It's the same word in Hebrew, but it's just pronounced differently. And so they, in English, we ended up with an evil woman encased in lead in a flying cylindrical container that's launched from the land of Shinar and comes against the land of Israel, and it incinerates entire buildings, including the wood and the stone, and leaves behind a deadly residue. Now, why we ended up with Isha instead of Asha is because when it was recorded, the prophecy of Zechariah was recorded by the scribes of the Sanhedrin in Jerusalem. And hundreds of years later, about 900 years later, in Tiberias, which is right down below my house, that's where the Masoretes put the vowel pointings in the Torah text and put the vowel pointings in the prophets. But till today, if you have a scroll of Zechariah, which we got for a friend of mine a while back, an ancient scroll of Zechariah, and it has no vowel pointings in it. Asha and Isha are the same words. But the Masoretes put a point under the aleph, making it Isha, and so now it becomes an evil an evil woman encased in lead in a flying container that comes from the land of Shinar, which is ancient Babylon, against the land of Israel, and incinerates entire buildings, including the wood, the stone, leaving behind deadly residue. Well, perhaps the Masoretes, the reason why they put that point in there is that in an evil fire encased in lead in a flying container, the exact dimensions of a modern-day Shaheen Iranian missile coming from ancient Babylon against the land of Israel, incinerating entire buildings, including the wood and the stone, and leaving behind a deadly residue, didn't make any sense to them. Maybe the one who put that bullet point there had a wife that he was having trouble with. And an evil woman in a flying container made more sense than an evil fire. But see, today we can look at these things and we can understand what he was describing as something that has not yet transpired. He is describing something that until this generation we could not understand what the prophet Zechariah was shown concerning the last days and what is going to be happening on planet Earth and what is going to come against the land of Israel. So that's why I say Bible prophecy to you may be a neat study that you're doing, but it determines whether we live or die in the land of Israel. It determines what is going to be transpiring in these last days, and we are given so many things in the scriptures that until this generation we could not understand what it is about.